The analysis of the text involves aspects as reading a text, the intention of the text, the intention of the translator, text styles, the readership, stylist skills, attitude, setting, the quality of writing, connotations, and denotations. Reading the text, you begin the job by reading the original for two purposes. First, to understand what it's about, and second, to analyze it from a translator point of view, which is not the same as a linguistic or literary critics. You have to determine its intention and the way it's written for the purpose and selecting a suitable translation method and identifying particular regular problems. The intention of the text. In reading, you search for the intention of the text. You cannot isolate this from understanding. They go together and the title may be remote from the content as well as the intention. Two texts might describe a battle or ritual of debate, starting the same facts and figures but the type, inaugurate, and even grammatical structure. Each case may be the evidence of a different point of view. The intention of the text represents the SL reader's attitude to the subject matter. The intention of the translator. Usually the translator intention is identical with that of the number of essay, but he may be translated an advertisement, a notice, or a set of instructions to show his client how such matter are formulated and written in the source language, rather than how to adapt them in order to persuade or instruct a new TL leadership. And again, he may be translated a manual of instruction for a less educated readership, so that explanation in his translation may be much larger than the reproduction. Text styles. We distinguish four types of text. Number one is narrative, a dynamic sequence of events where the emphasis is on the verbs for English, like dummy or empty, verb plus verb, noun, or phrasal verbs. Like, he made a sudden appearance, he burst in. The second one is description, which is static with emphasis on linking verbs, adjectives, adjectival nouns. Number three is discussion, treatment of ideas with emphasis on abstract nouns, concepts, verbs of thought, mental activity, consider, argue, logical argument, and connectives. Number four is dialogue with emphasis on colloquialisms and phatisms. The other aspect we have to consider is the readership. On the basis of the variety of language used in the original, you attempt to characterize the readership of the original and then of translation, and to decide how much attention you have to pay for the TL readers. In the case of a poem or any work written primarily as self-expression, the amount is, I suggest, very little. You may try to assess the level of education, the class, age, and sex of the readership if these are marked. We have the stylistic scales. The scales of formality has been variously expressed, notably by Martin, Joss, and Strivens. For example, in officialist, the conception of many nutrients whatsoever is categorically prohibited in this establishment. The official one is the consumption of nutriments is prohibited. The formal one is to our request to not consume food in this establishment. Neutral eating is not allowed here. Informal, please don't eat here. Colloquial, you can feed your face here. Slang, laid off the nosh, and taboo, lay off the fucking nosh. The other aspect is attitude. In passages making evaluation or recommendations, you have to assess the standards of the writer. If he writes good, fair, like average, compliment, adequate, satisfactory, middling, poor, excellent, Are his standards related to the context absolutely, generally accepted in his culture, or arbitrary? Often there is only a thin line in the critical difference between a positive and a negative opinion, which is not clarified in the middle words I have listed. Similarity, approximately the same referent, may often be expressed positively, neutrally, or negatively. In male language, this plump, fat, rondel striker, small legs, limbs, slender, svelte, shackle fighter, the process develops as writers become more aware of their language. Regime government is neutral in French, but negative in English. We have setting. You have to decide on likely setting. Where would the text be published in TL? What is the TL equivalent of SL periodical, newspaper, textbooks, journal, or who is the client you are translating for, and what are the requirements? You may have to take account of briefer titles, absence of subtitles and subheadings, shortened paragraphs, and other features of the translation house style. The quality of the writing. You have to consider the quality of the writing and the authority of the text, two critical factors in the choice of translation method. The quality of writing has not to be judged in relation to the author intentions and or the other requirements of subject matter. If the text is well written, the matter is as important as the matter. The right words are in the right places within minimum or redundancy. You have to record every single of the author meaning as having precedence over the reader's response, or to act or react promptly, or the contrary, assuming hopefully that they will read your translation at least twice. The other aspect we have to consider is connotations and denotations. Bear in mind that whilst all texts have connotations, an aura of ideas and feelings suggested by lexical words. Crudely, run may just suggest hate, sofa may just suggest comfort, and all texts have an underlife. In a non-literary text, the denotations of a word normally come before its denotations, but in literary text, you have to give precedence to its connotations, since if it's any good. It's a legatory, a comment on society, at the same time, and now, as well as your strict setting. The last reading. Finally, you should know the cultural aspect of SL text. You should underline all the neologisms, metaphors, cultural words, and institutional terms peculiar to SI, or third language, proper names, technical terms, or untranslatable words. Untranslatable words are the ones that have not ready, no one to no one equivalent ETL. They are likely to be qualities or action in descriptive verbs or mental words relating to the mind that you have not connotated in TL. The purpose of dictionaries is not to indicate the semantic range of words as well through collocations, the main sense. And as a conclusion, in principle, the translational analysis of SL text based on its compression is the first stage of translation and the basis of the useful discipline of translation criticisms. In fact, such an analysis is, I think, an appropriate training for translators, since by underlining the appropriate words, they will show they were aware of difficulties they might otherwise might have missed. Thus, you relate translation to theory in practice. A professional translator will not usually make such an analysis explicitly, since he will need to take a only sample in order to establish the properties of a text. A translation critic, however, after determining the general properties, first of the text and secondly of the translation, Both these texts were centered in their respective intention of translation and critique. Would use the underlined words as a basis for detailed comparison of the two texts. To summarize, you have to study the text not for itself, but as something that may have to be reconstituted for a different readership in a different culture.